hope everyone is well tonight. Thank you all for coming out to our very first concert. Seated behind me is 2 brass and percussion classes and 2 woodwind classes. The first time they have ever performed together is today when we came for the warm-up. And what we're going to do on this concert is show you guys where we started at and then where we at right now as of right now. So our very first thing we did, it took us a while to figure out how to put the instruments together properly without damaging them, how to sit. You'll notice the students all sit at the edge of their seat with both feet flat on the floor out in front of their chair. And I'm sure some of them just did that now. And they sit up as tall as they can from the waist up so we can produce a good tone. And then you're going to notice throughout the band, they all have a uniform way of holding their instrument so that we can get the best sound possible. So after we learn how to put together the instruments, then we learn how to lightly tap our heel where you won't hear any sound while they play. They breathe in on count 4, and then we play a whole note. A whole note lasts for 4 beats, and they don't stop the note with their tongue. So this is line 1, the very first note that they learned. So, whereas you guys just had 1 at home, we had all that. And then, when they played that first note, we said, wow, that was fantastic. And they kind of looked at us like, are you crazy? And we're like, you've got to start somewhere. Okay, so after a while of learning which keys to press down, how to sit, the whole note eventually became this. So it takes a lot of focus to all breathe together and count 4, start together and end together. Okay, after we learn whole notes, 4 beats long, the next thing we learn what half notes. Half notes, each note gets 2 beats, and they need to know that they lightly tap their heel where we can't hear it, and that they still don't stop the note with the tongue. Now as we're progressing along, after the half notes come quarter notes. Quarter notes, each note gets 1 beat, and then they have 4 beats of quarter rest. very first song that we learned, and that entailed half notes, whole notes, and quarter notes. And then they also had rest in between a lot of these notes. Percussion, if you notice, they're transitioning out. Everyone's learning how to play not just the mallet percussion instrument, but also the snare drum. And then when we get to the other songs, we progress to a lot of other instruments. While I'm talking about percussion, I just want to let you know that we are so fortunate that we have one of the best percussion instructors in the entire country, Mr. Mike Lynch. We can't thank you enough. I tell our students they don't know how fortunate they are by having Mr. Lynch come and work with them every week. It's a tremendous help. Okay, so next up is our first song, Hot Press.
My name is Stephen Fields. I'm the assistant director here at Mabry. We're going to continue with they did hot press buns that features half notes and quarter notes. Now we're going to do a little bit more complex rhythm. Really important for the kids to keep tempo and stay together. So far, our notes have been really close together. Now we're going to take it a step further. We're going to have leaps in our notes. Especially for the brass players, they had to learn how to use their air, make it fast air and fast buzzing of the lips to go higher, and the opposite to come back down. All right, so the next one, we're taking another step further. We're changing up the rhythms now, getting a little bit more complex rhythms. We're throwing some dotted quarter notes in, dotted quarter eighth note rhythms, and we have 2 lines on our song now. Okay, now we're going to take it another step further. So far we've had our time signature as 4/4, meaning that there are 4 beats in a measure. Now we're changing it to 2/4, which means there are 2 beats in a measure. So we learned how to play in 2/4 for Frere Shaka. We're going to do this in a round, so that means one group's going to start first, then a little bit later another group's going to start, and a little bit later another group is going to start. So there's a little bit more independence now. And now we're going to venture on to something totally different. So far we've only had 2-line songs, now we move to full sheet music. All the parts are different now, so it's really important that the students learn how to count, how to listen to each other, who has the melody, who doesn't have the melody. Percussion has more instruments that they're going to be playing now, so in addition to the woodwinds and the brass listening to themselves and their sections and groups, now they have to listen to the percussion. Before we play our last song, I'd like to acknowledge some people. First off, she hates when I do this, but I'm going to do it anyhow. Yeah, she's shaking her head down. Mrs. Schneider brings our percussion equipment over, takes it back to school, and brings it back for the next concert tomorrow night. So please thank Ms. Schneider for all her hard work. Because there's no way it's going to fit in my Camaro convertible. Just not going to happen. And then next up, we have Mr. Thompson here, the Director of Bands from Lassiter. Thank you for all your support of our future Trojans. It was so nice when Mr. Fields and I walked in the door and Mr. Thompson had everything set up on the stage for us, which was huge. And then we have fantastic administration at Mabry Middle School, and we are so blessed. Thank Miss Mandy Childress, she's here with our support administrative team.
Miss Heflin and Miss Dr. Pettit retired, I was like, woo, one spot is one thing, but 2 spots is another. They had some big shoes to fill, and they're doing a phenomenal job. And so they didn't miss a beat, and things are going great at Mabry because of our administrative team. So thank you very much. So you are going to notice a huge difference from today's concert to the spring concert. So we kind of wanted to show you where we started off with that very first note, which I know you had one at home and we had a lot here. These kids are learning how to play in a foreign language. Studies have shown that band, playing a musical instrument, increases their ability to do everything in school better. I know we're all about tests, which I think we over-test the kids, but that's my 2 cents worth. But being in band, that's a whole other story. Being in band increases the ability of your students to do everything else in school. It's the only subject they take that uses the entire brain. When they're in math class, they're just using one part of the brain. Same thing for all the other academics. This is the hardest academic class your kids will ever take. So please encourage them to stay in band. And just like anything, when they get a new toy at Christmas time, they play for it with a while and then they put it away. Same thing with a band instrument. They're gonna go through their phases where they go, I really love it, and then I don't know if I wanna do it. So encourage your kids to continue in band all through high school. It's well worth it, and it will create so many dividends in the long run for them. Our last song, percussion. We are now learning a lot of different instruments. We've now progressed to 16th notes. Most 6th graders don't have 16th notes until well in the springtime, but we like to always challenge our kids. This last piece is in the key of concert A flat, which is another hard concert key. So the highest note that the low brass and low reeds will have is a concert A flat. Third position, first valve, trumpets, they get up to a high B flat, which is pretty impressive. So we'd like to end our program tonight with Mabry tradition, Boom Boom Stomp. So parents, if we could have your help doing just one thing, as the kids are going to pack up their instruments without playing their instruments. If we could just clear out the stands, our symphonic band has a concert tomorrow night. If you would like to come back along with Pope,